Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned to ADBN Television as we look to discuss our main topic in line with the Senate versus suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan showdown. The lawmaker representing Kogi Central was poised to resume plenary yesterday, having informed the Senate following a judgment as issued by Justice Binta Nyako in the Federal High Court in Abuja recommending her reinstatement. Now, this move was met by resistance by security operatives at the gate of the National Assembly. Earlier, we had taken a listen to the suspended Senator Natasha's interview as granted to pressmen in front of the National Assembly gates. However, our guest in the studio this morning would look to review the issues at hand, bordering on the, what I call it, interpretation of the judgment as given by Justice Binta Nyako and the resistance as met by Senator Natasha yesterday. Our guest is the political philosopher and public affairs analyst, Ikenga Prince Ezeimo. Good morning to you and welcome to the program.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning, Nigerians.
Now,
thanks for having me.
Now, let's get your thoughts starting with the events of yesterday. When you saw the attempt to gain entrance by the suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, what came to mind?
Well, for me, I was going to work that yesterday morning at the point of the entrance of the National Assembly.
You work at the National Assembly?
Yes, I work at the National Assembly. I am the senior legislative aide to the Senate President,
okay.
So I saw the crowd with distinguished Senator Natasha trying to bulldoze their way into the... in fact, they want to get crashed. That's the best way to put it. They want to get crashed. So it was an eyesore for me because unfortunately, most distinguished Senator Natasha knows what she's doing. She knew that she would not be allowed access into the National Assembly. Certainly she knew. From all indication, she didn't come there yesterday simply to resume as she claimed earlier. She came for a show-off. And that was why you saw a whole lot of people accompany her. After all, one will ask, all along she has been coming to work in the National Assembly. Was she coming with that kind of number of persons? But yesterday she decided to create a scene.
Sorry to cut you, but talking to this issue you just raised, I also saw some opinion. My previous guest on the program is also an indigene of Kogi Central. He said they felt the need to show that the people of Kogi Central feel some sort of de-enfranchisement since she's been suspended from the Senate.
See, the Senate is an institution. We must understand this. One of the problems we have in Nigeria is that because of long case of bad leadership in Nigeria, it is always like the government versus the masses. And in most cases, the masses do not care to be reasonable, to be rational. You just have to join the bandwagon to attack the government or somebody in power honestly without asking yourself, what am I actually doing? Senate is an institution, irrespective of who is there or who are there at the moment. Senate as an institution has a modus operandi. Senator Natasha is a senator, and presumably I heard that she is a lawyer. So I want to believe that she understands the basic tenets of law. See, without going back to what happened that led to her suspension, you have been suspended. Now, you went to court. The matter went to court, and the court gave a judgment. And mind you, the issue of her resumption, or rather the issue of removing the suspension, was not an order. If you have the CTC copy of that judgment, the judge says the Senate should consider calling her back.
Now, for the sake of our viewers as well, since you've referenced the CTC judgment, I'd like to take a read to it because on the front page of the CCT, it has judgment order underlined. And it says, upon the case coming on the 4th of July 2024 before His Lordship, the Honorable Justice Binta Nyako, for judgment, parties absent, counsels all captured. And then you flip away from that page and then you go to the orders. It is hereby ordered as followed. What I believe your reference is order number 12 and 11. Now, I'll take a read of this. I'll start from 10. 10 says that to suspend a member for a period of 6 months equals to a suspension of 180 days. And this is the same number of days a member is expected to sit in the House, represent his people, that I find this excessive and overreaching, noting that it will prevent Section 63 of the 1999 Constitution. Now, Order 11, that I am of the opinion that the Senate has the power to review the provisions of the Senate's rule and can even amend Section 14.2 of the Legislative House Powers and Privileges Act, both for excessive and overreaching. And then on Order number 12, that the Senate has the power to, and I believe, should recall the plaintiff and allow her to resume representing the people who sent her there to represent them.
Now, if you get this is
This
what
is the CTC.
see. So you see that the judge is a kind of giving an opinion. This is not a definitive order.
But the subject here says judgment order. I know I'm not a lawyer, but reading from this,
I am not also a lawyer, but we have analyzed this in several fora, and I've listened to lawyers, both those who are for and those who are against. And let me tell you, assuming without even considering that it is an order, the Senate has also responded to the lawyer to Senator Natasha that she shouldn't resume. If I were her, I think the best thing she should have done is to go back to the court. That this, look at what these people are now telling me, a kind of they are flouting the order of the judge. That is what
other than gate crashing,
is other than these unnecessary
theatrics.
Exactly. You see, I understand what the gentle lady is trying to do. She's trying to be the bride of the nation, the star of the moment, and all that. There's nothing completely too wrong on that. But then, you don't completely diminish the sacredness of an institution just for you to, massage your self-ego. It doesn't make sense. It is a kind of painting Nigeria black among the League of Nations. So I think what the senator did yesterday was not for the best interest of this country or the image of this country. She is just after all. Okay, why didn't she at the end of the day find her way into the complex? They just walked the eye of that street and then left. So that tells you that she simply
Do you know
came.
how long in terms of hours this went on for?
I was in the traffic. I was at the gate of that National Assembly for more than 2 hours.
Quite interesting. Now, going back to the CCT, and for the sake of our viewers as well, I'd like to refer to order number 2 and find out if there's been compliance in your regard, since you've recommended that she goes back to the court. Now, on the CCT, it does say in order number 2 that having found out that the plaintiff acted in breach of the court's subsisting order, the plaintiff must take responsibility for her action and remedy same. Thus, an order is hereby made for the plaintiff to pay a fine to the sum of 5 million naira to the federal government's treasury and to publish 2 public apology to the court in 2 national dailies and on her Facebook page within 7 days of today to purge herself of contempt.
She has not done that, and she said she will not do that. Now,
she said she wouldn't
yes,
do that.
even yesterday, if you listen to her interview, she said she will not apologize for what she does not understand. And she has already appealed that very judgment. Now, the same judge, the same court gave a judgment. You are now selecting the one to obey and the one not to obey. That tells you that these are all about media matters. She has already appealed the judgment of paying fine and then apologizing. And I tell you, if Senator Natasha had apologized earlier, all this drama will not be there. Mind you, that the same case of seat allocation was a problem between the current Senate President and the former Senate President during the 8th Assembly, Senator
Bukola
Saraki. When it was obvious that Senator Godswill Akpabio erred, he immediately apologized to the Senate and the leadership of the Senate, and that ended the matter. So, in the case of our dear sister, Senator Natasha, she ought to have simply apologized instead of this ego fight. Now, what she's banking on, the so-called sexual harassment, up till now, there is no evidence, there is no prima facie evidence, there is no corroboration, there's nothing. She just wants us to believe that Senator Akpabio harassed her sexually. How? Nobody knows. So you see that it's a case of somebody who is trying very hard to play certain card. Remember that they started by telling Akpabio to step down. So the aim and the sole intention of all this drama is for Akpabio to step down. But thank God that the senators, like I told you, I work in the National Assembly. On the days these were happening, none of the senators, not even one, on the floor supported Senator Natasha, including the 3 other ladies. Even Senator Ikenga came out on national TV and said that she has called her several times to order and she has refused to heed her voice. So I think Senator Natasha should rescue herself, come back, have a deep introspection, and understand that there is a great difference between being a senator in an institution like the Senate of Nigeria and being a social media activist or university undergraduate activist and stuff like that. No, the Senate has a rule, and it's an institution that must be handled with every sense of sacredness.
Now, this is in line with history. What precedents do you think this case would set in the Nigerian history, particularly in compliance with our constitution, when you look at section 63 of the 1999 constitution on the mandated number of days lawmakers to represent her people?
The constitution also gave the National Assembly the privilege of regulating themselves. I want to believe that, and this is not the first time.
Institutional autonomy.
Exactly, and this is not the first time this is happening. Remember, even Alain Dume had to take, I think it was Sam Bukola Saraki to court for suspending him, and eventually the thing didn't get to Supreme Court. In my opinion, I would want a situation where this matter should get to the Supreme Court, one, so that we will know really whether the Senate has the powers to punish their members, and secondly, if such members are punished, does it require adjudication? Are you getting me? All this while, none of those cases have actually gotten to Supreme Court. They will always end at the Federal High Court. Then there will be an apology and stuff like that, and everybody moves on. But the way this one is going, since Senator Natasha is very resolute not to apologize, I think the Senate should take it further, so that we will have a permanent end to this drama. Because tomorrow maybe it is Senator Natasha today, tomorrow maybe 3 other persons.
That's why I asked what precedent does it set.
It's an ugly one, but for me, if it gets to Supreme Court and there is a definite resolution on that, I think it will end the whole drama.
Now, by law, looking at it from her core responsibilities as a senator, 1, legislative, 2, oversight, 3rd, representation, do you think that she acted based off self-interest? Because I'm looking at many reports saying that it was an issue of self-interest in terms of the committees she was chairing and certain privileges that up until the seat allocation she enjoyed. People are saying she probably did not consider those 3 constitutional mandates before acting in the way she did.
I think, Senator Natasha is still a very young woman, and she might have done a couple of things. Maybe it might not be wrong to say, maybe out of exuberance and without considering 2 sides of the coin and possible consequences and all that. She was maybe overpowered by her emotions and then by the unprofessional advice of a lot of Nigerians. We are very good in giving advice, even when we know next to nothing about what we are talking about. So, and she wants to be, like I said, the bride of the moment because of social media hypes and all whatnot, and this is now affecting her. No doubt it's affecting her constituents. But let me tell you, remember that Senator Natasha came into the Senate 6 months or 7 months after the Senate have resumed. She came in through the court.
She missed the induction.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
Exactly. She came in through the court. Now, that has already made her I don't want to say inferior, but those who were there from day one are above her. Now, but when she came in, she got a lot of privileges. That is why I don't like all this drama. These all dramas are not necessary. It's a sign that something is wrong somewhere.
Can you list some of those privileges you suppose she got?
Senator Natasha, on resumption on the Senate, was made chairman of local content committee. That is one of the biggest committees in National Assembly. And when that was done, the rest of the senators were all murmuring. They were almost trying to say that the SP is being how do I put it? Is it partial or what? Why should this woman who just came in 6 months, 7 months after we have started get this kind of juicy committee? Remember that the other senator from Kogi on the day of Natasha's suspension said that he was the one that went to SP and compelled him to give Natasha that position, if you can remember.
I do remember.
So, and again, remember that Senator Ireti Kingibe went to national TV and told the world that out of the 4 female in the Senate, Natasha gets the best of the privileges. It is on record. So, why was she not shouting when she was getting all these privileges against the sensibilities of the rest of the senators? She was getting those privileges and it was good for her. The SP was a good man then. There was no case of sexual harassment then, before all those positions were given to her. Not until maybe out of agitation of the men there and stuff like that, the SP removed her from local content committee.
This reshuffling, is it something that goes on time to time?
Even after her own case, a lot of other senators were removed from their committee and gave another committee. It is, look, within Senate rule, which the Constitution empowered them to give themselves, the leadership of the Senate has all the rights and privileges to appoint and remove senators from various committees. And again, seat allocation is the ultimate prerogative of the Senate President. It's the SP that will tell you where to sit in the Senate. It's just like when we were in primary school and all that. The monitor has certain powers to do certain things.
In the classroom.
In the classroom.
Now let's come back to the Senate President, because I also saw an appeal by him. The appeal stated that he felt that he wasn't given the rights to a fair hearing before the orders as contained in the CCT, which I referenced to, was issued in that judgment by Her Lordship Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court Abuja. You're his senior legislative aide. Can you walk us through what informed him to file this appeal? Exactly
one of the things I have already pointed out. The SP is trying to preserve the sanctity of the institution of Nigerian Senate. Like I said, I will want a situation where this matter will get to Supreme Court, so that because one of the appeals of the SP is that the court does not even have jurisdiction to attend to the matter. You get it? The Federal High Court does not have the jurisdiction to attend to the matter. So it will get to the Court of Appeal, and I am also suggesting it should get to Supreme Court, so that there will be permanent resolution on this matter, whether the Senate has the right to regulate themselves. You know, even the judge said that it is not everything that they discuss in the plenary that somebody should bring to the court. Otherwise, the court will end up doing next to nothing except discussing what the senator does. And mind you that the National Assembly, the legislature, is an institution on its own, an arm of government on its own, that shouldn't, none of the rest of the 2 other arms should interfere in what they do. So I think the SP is really struggling to save the face of the Senate and preserve its sanctity by pushing this matter forward.
Now, because Senator Natasha, in her media interview, did fault that, as it were. She said that the appeal was only filed by Senator Godswill Akpabio and not the National Assembly, not the clerk of the House.
No. It is the National Assembly, not just SP. It is the National Assembly that is, after all, it is the clerk of the National Assembly that responded, the clerk of the Senate that responded to her. So, well, you know, this is her case. She will have to do everything possible to appear fantastic, wonderful, and all that before the eyes of Nigerians. But this is not how it should work. The Senate, like I said earlier, is not where you exhibit all manner of unnecessary activism. It is an institution that should be guided by all of us, both from the SP, Senator Natasha, and all that. And that tells a lot about, you know, the temperament of people that we should be sending to the National Assembly, not people that will be dragging us every day on the media for the sensational.
Now, still sticking with the Senate President's appeal, he cross-appealed 11 grounds of the judgment. I don't know if you've taken your time to go through them, but I know you've listed some of those you think are top, and you're also yearning for this case to go beyond the appeals to the Supreme Court. But can you also talk us through some of the grounds which you think are pertinent in setting the precedents for history's sake?
For whose sake?
For history's sake. We're all students of history.
Exactly.
I'll come to the Nigerians on social media and their reactions, but first off, let's get your thoughts on this.
You know, I've talked about what happened during the Senator Saraki and between Senator Saraki and Senator Alendume and all that, and it ended in the Federal High Court. And at the end of the day, they'll just go in and have a tea over all these things and resolve, and it ends there. But what we are seeing today has shown that there is need. I keep on saying that there is need to take this matter forward, because what Senator Natasha is doing now is not just about her. Tomorrow, I might become a senator and decide to deal decisively with the Senate president, irrespective of what the world think about the institution and stuff like that. It's a personal stuff, and I want to, it could be a vendetta and all that. Then I will. So, but when this matter gets to Supreme Court, as the SP is trying to do now, you see that tomorrow nobody will come up again to begin to dramatize on the floor of the Senate, knowing that if you do that, the Senate has the right to punish you, assuming that the Supreme Court, goes in favor of the Senate. If the Supreme Court go in favor of the Senate, then tomorrow, if I become a senator, I will understand that, I have I should respect the leadership of the Senate. If I have an issue with the leadership of the Senate, there's a channel. Remember, nobody is saying you will not have disagreement
in the Senate.
In fact, that place is a place of disagreement ordinarily, but there's a channel. If you are disagreeing with Akpabio, there's a way you go about it. And remember that the Senate is also saying that Senator Natasha didn't go through the lay down internal mechanism of resolving certain issues
under the Senate standing order.
Under the Senate standing order. She never went through that way. She rather went to media and started trying Akpabio in the media immediately.
But do you think there are any hopes that pending her reinstatement that she would look to approach the Senate for an internal resolution to these issues?
Those pushing her, one of her problem, I believe, is that she has gone too far.
Talking about those pushing her, some of the footages showed her being accompanied by human rights activist Aisha Yusufu. Do you think that she's been a bad influence in what you're saying?
I wouldn't want to call Aisha a bad influence, but she's one of those pushing her. And the rest of...
But you're insinuating that she's not pushing her in the right direction. She probably is pushing her in the wrong.
Definitely, she's pushing her in the wrong direction, but I wouldn't want to call her a bad influence. However, right and wrong is not objective these days. It's very, very subjective. But that notwithstanding, Natasha has failed to understand that she is not a social media activist. She is a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And she has refused to tell those her people, including Aisha and the rest of all those people pushing her, that Senate has rules that guide it, irrespective of what anybody thinks. And this rule must be there for Senate to be an institution, an independent institution in this country. So she has gone quite too far, especially in the media. Like I said, she wants to be the darling of the time. She wants to be the bride. Even Senator Akpabio used to call her the princess of the Senate. All those days, she was not telling us anything about anybody abusing her. Now she has gone too far. For her, she feels that if she apologizes to the Senate, or even to the rest of us, to Nigerians, those people who have been encouraging her, including our auntie, Obi Ezekwesili, will say, look at this one we have been supporting. So she has now gone to apologize. So these are the factors.
So you think she's playing to the gallery?
Of course. Now everybody knows that she's like I said. What she did yesterday was simply media razzmatazz. She came to do that.
Let's bring these individuals who you purport she's playing to the gallery into question, because looking at social media where most of the reactions are coming in, it almost seems as though a lot of Nigerians have a position on this issue. One of the key calls you've also recorded on the show is at least provide evidence to some of the claims. The other one is the general notion of Nigerians reacting to activities of the Senate, your place of employment, where you have said has its own rules. A lot of Nigerians seem to be oblivious of the workings of the National Assembly. How can Nigeria as a nation re-engender some of these tenets, owing to the fact that even in school curriculums, certain key subjects are being taken out? History is no longer being taught in schools, just to mention one, which I think is very crucial in having some of these tenets embedded in the minds of young Nigerians.
Let me tell you, my brother, the truth of the matter is this. The constitution that Nigeria is operating with, I keep on saying it, until we are brave enough to have a total overhaul of Nigerian constitution will continue to run around the vicious circle of maladministration. Senator Godswill Akpabio is a good man who wants the best for this country.
But you just told us that being good or bad is more
subjective
than objective.
I will tell you why I feel he's a good man. Up till today, you cannot discuss the progress of Akwa Ibom State in the current Nigerian political dispensation without bringing in Godswill Akpabio. Not just because he was a governor, but as he called himself, he was an uncommon governor. Until today, if you go to Akwa Ibom, you see his footprints everywhere as a governor. Are you getting me? So that tells you that he's a man who really wants the poor to breathe, if I should borrow President Tinubu's words. Now, as a Senate president, he is operating strictly under this constitution that is, in my opinion, not the best. And that will certainly regulate his goodness, irrespective of whether the goodness is objective or subjective. I will want Nigerians, both those in National Assembly, the judiciary, and the presidency, to muster the courage to look into the total overhaul of Nigerian constitution.
But the public hearing on the amendments to the said constitution has begun in zones across the country.
We have been having that public hearing. See, we have been having the issue of constitutional amendments since 1999. Of course, you know that even President Obasanjo was sworn in without a constitution. Are you aware?
There was this 1976 constitution before that, and the 1986 constitution.
I doubt if they used 1976 constitution to swear him in. I listened to the man who was the Minister of Information during General Abacha's time, Chief Nyangodo. He said that he was the Minister of Information under General Abacha. No, sorry, under General Abu Salami Abubakar. The man that handed...
But hold on, let me get you clear. Are you talking about his time as a military head or his time as a civilian president?
No, Abacha was never a civilian. Abacha died as a military.
Obasanjo. That's why I mentioned.
Yes.
I suppose you were talking about Sani Abacha. Why I said 1976?
No, I wasn't talking. It was a slip of tongue. I was talking of General Abdulsalami Abubakar. Chief Nyangodo was his Minister of Information.
That's why I said 1976 constitution, because even at then, many military heads came in with their own form of constitution, which many said
decree. They do operate with decree. The point I'm trying to make is this: it was General Abdulsalami Abubakar that handed over the leadership of Nigeria to General Obasanjo as an elected president, right? And now it was his government that produced
the 1999
constitution. And now the Minister of Information, who's supposed to tell Nigerians about the constitution, has told us publicly that he didn't see the constitution. And he was the one also that who told Nigerians that General Obasanjo, as an elected president, was sworn in without a constitution.
So you're borrowing from his words now.
Exactly. So that tells you that the 1999 constitution we are operating now was manufactured in a room by a group of military people. Obviously, for that constitution to be in perpetual advantage of a particular class. So, for me and for many other Nigerians, I am not just talking about, this constitutional amendment that we always hear. I am talking of total overhaul of that constitution to reflect the interest of Nigerian people.
Now, Chief Anyoko, who is leading the Patriots, has also had his stance on how we can achieve federal federalism. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who you reference, begs to differ. He says the problem is not the Constitution, but the operators of the Constitution. And if you traverse across the continent of Africa, you'd find beautiful documents called constitutions, but the operators are in perpetual wrong of not operating it as it ought to be.
I disagree completely with him. I disagree. Look, if we get it right in paper, when I mean in paper, I mean the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you now begin to have strong grounds to hold people accountable. Do you know that in Nigeria today, you can't hold your governor accountable?
They have the power of immunity.
They have all the powers in the world. The same thing with the president. Even another local government chairman, you hardly can hold him accountable. Because everybody have a kind of this perceived backing of the Constitution to be doing all sorts of nonsense. See, the Constitution of Nigeria today is not people-oriented.
And despite that line that says, we the people of Nigeria.
Which we the people? I am just telling you that the Minister of Information said that the Constitution that he was supposed to announce to Nigeria, he didn't know where it was written. So if a Minister of Information who's supposed to announce the Constitution to the country does not know where the Constitution is written and how it was manufactured, is it me and you that will know? So how did that become we the people? It was never we the people. So see, if you give the current Senate president the best document to work with, he will replicate, he will do far better than he did in Akwa Ibom. Up to today, nobody has been able to match him in Akwa Ibom. He left government how many years ago?
Don't forget, centrally in this conversation, we're discussing we the people of Nigeria in reference to the Nigerians we find on social media, which is one of the basis for us to sample opinions. Because I believe that's one of the biggest platforms in real time, where an issue happens, you go there, you sample comments, and then you can more or less say these are the thoughts of Nigerians.
Yes.
Now you've recommended a constitution overhaul. Now I'm talking about reorientation, because it seems our values as people seem to be on the downward trajectory in terms of the morals we hold.
Of course.
At this point, how do we get it back on track? Because it almost seems that I was speaking to one of our staffs in the support system in the transmission, and he said it almost seems that people are glorifying wealth and pursuits of wealth over moral values. Well, how do we get Nigerian youths back on track?
Currently, Governor Soludo, my governor, I'm from Anambra State, started talking about the values we share as a people. We are Africans and we are Nigerians. And there is no tribe in Nigeria that does not have hard work as a benchmark for success. There's no tribe, there's no religion in this country that glorifies unexplainable wealth as we have it today. You see, I want a situation where the political class, the leaders, the elites, will, like I talked about, having the courage to rearrange Nigerian constitution. If they do that, then they put Nigeria in a progressive trajectory. You see, why people do every sort of things to survive today is because it's difficult to live in Nigeria. It's difficult to survive. And then we'll see people who live in affluence. And sometimes you don't even have an explanation as to source of their wealth. And these people, maybe through the help of social media, are everywhere influencing the young people. So an average young Nigerian wants to be like certain class of people. Because those people have no explanation on how they make it. You don't begin to ask those young Nigerians to give you explanation of what they're doing to arrive at those people. Because, you know, are you getting my point now? So there's need for us to begin again. Like you rightly said, our moral credibility is nosediving. I wanted to say in Igbo land, but it's everywhere. This thing we call Yahoo Yahoo. Yahoo Yahoo is just a baptismal name. It is fraud. It is criminality. But young people in Nigeria have found a way to legalize it. But that does not make it legal. We need to go back to the drawing board. There's need for hard work. Young people must be taught. And you know, let me tell you, my brother, it even starts from primary school. In a situation where both the teachers and parents want their children to have 100% without studying, I tell you, both teachers and parents, every parent wants his child to pass common entrance without studying. And then every teacher wants his or her school to be among the top first without any hard work. This is where all this nonsense starts. And it gets to the level that we are now, that it's almost looking like something one cannot control. So there's need for us to go back to the drawing board. We have values in this country, both as our culture and as our religious belief. We need to reenact them.
Now, one of those values in closing and in relation to the topic of today is being able to apologize even when you're either not wrong or in the wrong. How much of a value is that, and how does this help shape the current issue of the Senate versus Senator Natasha?
Our beautiful sister, most distinguished Senator Natasha, should rescue herself from the hands of a certain mob. There is nothing wrong in her apologizing to the institution. It's not like apologizing to the Senate president. She should apologize to the institution of the Senate, where she legitimately belongs. You know, you don't begin to fight certain fight just because you want to message your ego or to appear good before people who may not even have your interests at heart. She should have that courage to apologize to the Senate and possibly even apologize to the SP, who has always been good to her. Like I said, when she came into that Senate, she was given on a lot of privileges, and the rest of the senators were all murmuring. They were all attacking Senator Akpabio. All of a sudden, you now made a U-turn and started telling us all sorts of things that you cannot even prove. I tell you, if Senator Natasha has any evidence against Senator Akpabio, judging from her antecedent and her temperament, she ought to have brought it to the public. But for her not to have brought anything anywhere up till now shows that she just wants to, maybe she's playing a card. You know, in Nigeria, anything can be politics. This country play politics with everything, including human life. Maybe they just want to let us find a way and destroy Akpabio so that we'll bring him down. And maybe she bought it and started playing that card. That was why they started by saying Akpabio should resign or should step down. Otherwise, why the interest in Akpabio stepping down instead of you to bring forth evidence you have against him? Oh. Because once you're able to make evidence you have against him public and all that, nobody will tell him to resign. But up to now, nothing of sort have done.
Well, Prince Ikenga, time I'm afraid is not our friend. We appreciate your submissions on the program this morning. This is a developing story. As it continues to evolve, we'll keep our viewers abreast with the appeals by both parties, both the Senator Godswill Akpabio camp and the Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan camp. We appreciate you for your time on the program.
Thank you very much.